good news first. I heard IMPL just won an award recently. Could you tell us more about the award?
We won many awards, so there are many awards to talk about.
Well, the most recent one.
Okay, so there are two actually that we won in financial planning recently. There's one which was a global award, where the Plan Plus Global Financial Planning Awards for the Asia region we were winner, uh, and that was a very interesting case because we had to present a case which was had cross-border issues. We had to talk about how we benefited the client, how we took care of currency, what are the impact of tax, etc., that we took into account, and present it to a global jury. And we made it. It's good to win after 2 years of making it to the first runner-up, and it's a great feeling. The other award, which I think for the team is fantastic, is the Wealth Forum Financial Planning Award, where our team colleague Khushbu made it to the third rank, and five out all the five participants were in the top 25. So it just establishes that as a firm, yes, we've got some of the basics right, and hopefully we'll get better from it.
Okay, that's great. We'll move on to markets. The new GDP numbers are out and it's at 8.5, 8.2% for the first quarter this fiscal year. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a time to celebrate considering increasing crude oil prices and weakening rupee?
Okay, so the GDP numbers are talking about the past. The oil prices and the rupee is also we are looking at what's the impact in future. So I suppose GDP numbers going up is a good thing. Questions on whether it is calculated correctly, different, all of that apart. But I think if you look at world compared to the rest of the world, we are doing extremely well, and this just means that profits of companies are growing, and ultimately markets are a slave of the profits of companies. So while we do know that oil prices rising, the rupee weakening are things which are negative noises, uh, ultimately, I think those are temporary sort of effects. Ultimately, the markets will depend on how much of profits are increasing, and the GDP is reflecting that. So, I'm not so sure whether it's time to celebrate or otherwise, because I think investing is a long-term game. So, I mean, you're celebrating, yes, you hit this ball for a six, but there's a whole test match to go here.
Right. Okay. Um, Talking about the weakening rupee, we've always spoken about having investments in other countries um, and investing in USD. Uh, could you talk about our partnerships in the US if there are clients who would like to invest there or if clients are there and want to invest their money?
Yeah, so I think that what we realized is that the clients are and families are getting more and more global. So there will be some member of the family who is in a different country, and they have some investments of their own there, but there's some joint holding happening back with India, and these sort of things are causing issues because the regulator in each of these countries is extremely local. So clients global, but the regulator is local. And that meant that if he had to understand and recommend correctly for a client what he needs to do with his money is here, part of his money is somewhere else, then unless we understood it really well, we were regulated in that country, we understood all the products, understood the tax implications, I don't think it would be right. So while I would say selfishly we would want to, let's read about it and give this advice, it was always better to talk to another professional and work together with that professional. So we do have advisors whom we work with in the US. So Paresh is one such advisor whom we work with, where we realized that if both of us together was able to talk to a client who had these cross-border issues, together we could help decide how much of their portfolio needs to be in India, how much in the US, and then what should be done in the US would be done by this partner of ours, what should be done in India would be done by us. And when we are doing this, I also want to point out we do come across situations where there are some tax complications. In which case, yes, we do have CPAs also whom we work with, both in the US and in India, whom we can talk to. And I think it's very important to have these open professional relationships where you know that there is something which is outside your area of competence, and for that you want to talk to somebody else who's competent there. So yes, I think people need to be aware about tax reporting issues, apart from just investing and making return, that extremely important.
Going beyond investing, we've been talking to clients about estate planning, creating a will, drafting a trust. Would you like to touch up upon that a bit?
Yeah, I think it's important that there are different stages in a client's life. There's a time when you're earning, then you're investing, then you're deploying it for your goals, and you're accumulating. So these things are all sort of intertwined. But ultimately, you want to pass it on to your family or whoever you think is important. And for that, it's in India especially, it's extremely important to recognize that a will is critical. Uh, the laws in the country about uh, how much attention a bank is going to pay to your nominee and say, okay, great, you've got a nomination, so I'll transfer it. We found in situations that it's not uniform. Different banks, different branches behave differently. And as long as you had a will, that would be the first step, I think, for the investors and his dependents to get the money sort of smoothly. So I think it's extremely critical that people have a will, and our aim is that we will help people to get their wills created. Once the assets get complicated or situations get complex, and or people want to control the lives of their dependents even after they are not there, they want to create a trust, then such expertise and professionals are also available, whom we can connect people to.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Welcome.